The attack came without warning. One moment, our Kalatrian outpost on Proxima B was functioning at optimal capacity. The next? Absolute carnage, Commander Zivix. Orbital sensors detect multiple warships entering the atmosphere. My second-in-command, Trilak, shouted across the command center as warning sirens blared through our base. His purple skin paled to an almost sickly lavender shade. I gripped the edge of the tactical display, my four eyes narrowing as I assessed the incoming threat. How many vessels? And why in the 7 moons didn't we detect them sooner? 23. No, 27 warships. They're using some kind of cloaking technology we've never encountered before. Trilak's voice cracked slightly. It's the Draxoid Armada. Well, wasn't that just fantastic news to brighten my already miserable day? The Draxoids, ruthless conquerors and slavers of the Orion Arm. Their favorite pastime? Subjugating peaceful colonies and turning the inhabitants into mindless workers for their mining operations. Activate all defense systems. Send an emergency distress signal to the Kalatrian High Command and any allied forces in the sector. I kept my voice steady despite the panic rising in my chest. And contact our human liaison at once. Trilak hesitated. The humans? Commander, with all due respect, their outpost has only 50 soldiers. What could they possibly do against the Draxoid Armada? I shot him an icy glare. The transmission protocols we signed with Earth require us to inform them of any threats to this system. Send. The message. Our alliance with humans was still new, barely 3 solar cycles old. Most of my fellow Kalatrians viewed these bipedal creatures with a mixture of curiosity and dismissal. They were newcomers to interstellar travel, after all, with limited technology and even more limited presence beyond their solar system. But there was something about humans that intrigued me. Perhaps it was their adaptability or their strange sense of humor that often left me puzzled. Or maybe it was the stories I'd heard from other species, whispered warnings about underestimating these Earthlings. The command center erupted into frantic activity as our defensive shields activated with a low hum. Outside, through the transparent dome ceiling, I could see the first wave of Draxoid ships breaking through the cloud layer, sleek, dark vessels shaped like razor-sharp crescents against the purple sky. Incoming transmission from the Draxoid command ship, our communications officer announced. Put it through, I ordered, straightening my posture. Never show fear to a Draxoid. That was the first rule of survival. The central view screen flickered to life, revealing the grotesque visage of a Draxoid war commander. 6 yellow eyes set in a triangular pattern above a jawless mouth filled with needle-like teeth. Gray, leathery skin stretched tight across a bulbous cranium. The sight alone was enough to send shivers down all 3 of my spinal columns. Attention! Pathetic Kalatrian colony. The Draxoid gurgled, its translator converting the sounds into our language. Your outpost is now property of the glorious Draxoid Empire. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will ensure your suffering becomes legendary even by our standards. Such charming negotiation tactics. I forced my mandibles into what I hoped resembled a smile. War Commander, this outpost falls under the protection of both the Kalatrian Confederation and the United Earth Alliance. Your presence here violates 17 interstellar treaties. I suggest you withdraw immediately before this diplomatic incident escalates into something regrettable. The Draxoid's laugh sounded like rocks being crushed in a metal grinder. United Earth Alliance? You hide behind the protection of hairless primates who've barely learned to break their own atmosphere? Perhaps we should take some humans as specimens after we've finished with your colony. I've heard they make amusing pets when properly broken. The transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by the sight of dozens of Draxoid landing craft descending toward our perimeter. Well, I sighed, reaching for my plasma rifle. I suppose negotiations have failed. Activate all combat protocols and prepare for ground assault. How long until our distress signal reaches the nearest Kalatrian fleet? Trilak's expression told me everything I needed to know before he even spoke. Minimum of 14 hours, Commander. Just perfect. 14 hours against the most feared military force in this quadrant of the galaxy. With our current defenses and personnel, we'd be lucky to last 14 minutes. The human outpost acknowledges our distress call. The communications officer called out. They say, she paused, looking confused. They say to hold tight, and that help is on the way. Trilak snorted derisively. What help? Their entire presence on this planet consists of one small research station with a security detail. And what exactly do they plan to do? I didn't have time to ponder the peculiar human response as the first explosions rocked our outer defenses. The Draxoid ground forces had landed, massive, armored soldiers standing nearly 3 meters tall, each capable of tearing a Kalatrian limb from limb with their bare hands. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of chaos and desperate fighting. Our security forces fought valiantly, but we were hopelessly outmatched. The Draxoids breached our inner perimeter with terrifying efficiency, slaughtering anyone in their path. By the time the crimson sun began to set, we had retreated to the Central Command bunker, the last defensible position in our once proud outpost. Of our original 300 colonists, barely 50 remained, many wounded and all exhausted. Status report, I demanded, wincing as a medic applied regenerative gel to a plasma burn on my upper arm. Not good, Commander, Trilak replied, his normally immaculate uniform now torn and stained with blue Kalatrian blood. Our shields are at 12%. Ammunition is critically low. The Draxoids have positioned siege weapons around the bunker. They're not rushing us. They're enjoying the hunt. Orbital, I nodded grimly. And still no word from our fleet? Nothing. Communications are still functioning, but he trailed off, the implication clear. No one was coming to save us. At least not in time. What about the humans? I asked, surprising even myself with the question. Trilak gave me a look that questioned my sanity. Commander, with all respect, we need to focus on reality. The humans have gone silent. Their outpost likely fell hours ago. A tremendous explosion shook the bunker, sending dust raining from the ceiling. The Draxoids were getting impatient. Commander. Our sensor operator's voice cut through the din. I'm detecting multiple atmospheric entries, hundreds of objects descending at high velocity. My heart sank. Reinforcements for the Draxoids. This day just couldn't get any worse, putting it on screen now. The operator said. We all turned to watch what I assumed would be our final defeat. Instead, the screen showed hundreds of small, cylindrical objects punching through Proxima B's atmosphere, trailing fire as they descended directly toward our position. What in the name of the ancestral void are those? Trilak whispered. Yo. Before anyone could answer, our communications console chimed with an incoming transmission. When the officer activated it, a human voice filled our command center. Kalatrian outpost, this is Captain Olivia Frost of the UEA Thunderchild. Hold your position. Orbital drop in progress. I repeat, O.D.S.T deployment in progress. Help is incoming. Just hang on for 3 more minutes. O.D.S.T. I had no idea what that meant, but the confident tone in the human's voice kindled a small flame of hope in my chest. The bunker shook again as another Draxoid weapon impacted our failing shields. Shields at 3%. Someone called out. Structural integrity compromised in sections 4 through 7. Everyone to battle stations, I ordered. Prepare for final defense protocols. If we're going down, we'll make these Draxoid filth remember the name of every Kalatrian they murdered today. My people moved with grim determination, checking weapons and barricading doors. The Draxoids would be coming through soon, and when they did, a new sound cut through the chaos, a series of thunderous impacts surrounding our bunker, followed by the unmistakable sounds of intense weapons fire. But strangely, there were no impacts against our shields. Get me external cameras, I demanded. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the area immediately outside our bunker. What I saw defied explanation. Dozens of the cylindrical objects had landed in a perimeter around our position. They had split open to reveal humans, but not like any humans I'd seen before. These humans were encased in formidable armored suits that made them nearly as large as the Draxoids themselves. They moved with incredible speed and precision, using weapons that cut through Draxoid armor like it was made of paper. Some fired explosive projectiles that reduced the enemy to bloody mist, while others engaged in close combat with energy blades that hummed with deadly purpose. "Oh, by the seven moons," Trilak whispered beside me. "What are we seeing?" "Humans," I replied, unable to keep the awe from my voice. "But not the scientists and diplomats we've met. These are their warriors." We watched in stunned silence as more of the drop pods landed, disgorging more armored humans. They moved with a coordinated precision that spoke of extensive training and experience. Within minutes, they had established a secure perimeter and were actively pushing the Draxoids back. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from one of the human soldiers," our communications officer announced. A new voice filled our command center, male, calm, despite the sounds of battle in the background. "Kalatrian Command, this is Lieutenant Jackson Reeves, 127th Orbital Drop Shock Trooper Battalion. We've secured your immediate perimeter. Requesting permission to approach your bunker with a tactical team." I exchanged glances with Trilak, whose mandibles were hanging open in shock. "Permission granted, Lieutenant," I replied. "We'll deactivate the remaining security measures on the south entrance." "Roger that." Approaching in 2 minutes. Reeves out, true to his word. Exactly 2 minutes later, our security feeds showed a squad of 6 armored humans at our bunker entrance. We hurried to meet them, still wary but desperately hopeful. The lead soldier removed his helmet, revealing a dark-skinned human male with a close-cropped beard and alert eyes that quickly assessed everyone and everything in the room. "Lieutenant Jackson Reeves." He introduced himself with a quick nod. "O.D.S.T, Orbital Drop Shock Troopers. Sorry we took so long to respond. Had to wait for the Thunderchild to arrive in system." "Commander Zivix," I replied, still trying to process what was happening. "Your arrival is unexpected. We were told Earth maintained only a small research presence in this system." Reeves' mouth curved into what humans call a smile, though there was nothing warm about it. "That's the official story, yes. The reality is a bit different. Earth has learned through painful experience not to advertise its military capabilities too loudly. Makes us less of a target for certain aggressive species." A massive explosion from outside rocked the bunker. "Speaking of aggressive species," Reeves continued, completely unfazed by the blast, "we need to finish dealing with your Draxoid problem. Our initial drop was just the advance team. The main force is landing now, and the Thunderchild is engaging the Draxoid fleet in orbit." As if on cue, his helmet comm crackled to life. "Lieutenant Reeves, this is Captain Frost. Be advised we've destroyed 12 enemy vessels and the rest are bugging out. Looks like they didn't expect a fight. Ground forces are cut off from orbital support." Reeves acknowledged the update before turning back to me. "Commander, if you have any personnel capable of fighting, we could use their local knowledge. Otherwise, we recommend you shelter in place while we clear the remaining hostiles." I straightened my posture, feeling a surge of pride. "We Kalatrians are not without courage, Lieutenant. My security teams will fight alongside yours." The human studied me for a moment, then nodded approvingly. "Glad to hear it. My squad will coordinate with your forces. Just a word of warning. Things might get a bit messy. We humans tend to be rather thorough when dealing with species that threaten our allies." As Reeves replaced his helmet and began issuing orders to both his troops and our security teams, I found myself wondering just how drastically I had underestimated these humans. Perhaps everyone had. Trilak moved closer to me, his voice low. "Commander, I don't understand. How did the humans deploy such a force so quickly? And where did they get such advanced military technology?" I watched as the human soldiers efficiently organized our remaining fighters into integrated units, their movements suggesting years of combat experience. "I believe, Trilak," I said slowly, "that our new allies have been hiding some significant capabilities from the galactic community. And based on what we're seeing today, I'm very glad they're on our side." Outside, the battle continued, but the sounds were changing. The Draxoid war cries were fewer, replaced by the steady, methodical advance of human weapons fire. For the first time since the attack began, I allowed myself to believe we might actually survive. And I knew with absolute certainty that after today, no one in the galaxy would ever look at humans the same way again. The night was still young, and the full extent of human warfare was about to be revealed to both us and the increasingly desperate Draxoids. Dawn broke over the battle-scarred landscape of Proxima B, painting the sky in vibrant shades of crimson and gold. From my vantage point atop what remained of our defense tower, I watched as human dropships landed in precise formation around our outpost perimeter. Each one disgorged more troops, heavy equipment, and what appeared to be mobile artillery platforms. "Quite the operation they're running," remarked Trilak, who stood beside me nursing a bandaged arm. "I count at least 3,000 human soldiers deployed so far. And more incoming," I added, pointing to the streaks of light descending through the atmosphere. "Their response time is unprecedented." The events of the night had been nothing short of revolutionary for my understanding of humans and their capabilities. After Lieutenant Reeves and his shock troops secured our immediate area, wave after wave of human reinforcements arrived. They moved with practiced efficiency, establishing defensive zones, field hospitals, and command posts. Most shocking of all was their combat effectiveness against the Draxoids. The same enemy forces that had torn through our defenses like they were made of air met their match in these armored humans. The tide had turned so dramatically that by midnight, the remaining Draxoid ground forces had retreated to a defensive position in the hills 5 kilometers north. "Commander Zivix," a voice called from behind us. I turned to see Lieutenant Reeves approaching, his armor now bearing the marks of heavy combat. Despite fighting through the night, he moved with the same controlled energy as when he'd first arrived. "Lieutenant," I acknowledged with a respectful dip of my head, "your soldiers have accomplished the impossible. The Draxoids have never been driven back so decisively." Reeves removed his helmet, revealing a face lined with fatigue but eyes still sharp and alert. "Doing our job, Commander. Though I should inform you that Lieutenant is no longer accurate. Field promotion." He gestured to new markings on his armor. "It's Captain Reeves now. Captain Frost asked me to brief you on our next phase of operations." "Next phase?" Trilak asked. "Surely you've done enough already. Your forces have saved our colony." Reeves' expression hardened slightly. "With respect, sir, our job isn't just to save your colony. It's to ensure the Draxoids never threaten it again." A chill ran through me at the implication of his words. "You intend to pursue them?" "Pursue, engage, and eliminate," Reeves confirmed matter-of-factly. "The remnant of their ground forces is cornered in the northern hills. Meanwhile, their fleet is in disarray. The Thunderchild has been joined by 3 more UAA battlecruisers. They're cutting off any escape routes." I tried to process this information. 4 human warships had managed to neutralize a Draxoid Armada that would have given even our most advanced Kalatrian battle fleets pause. But why? I asked, genuinely puzzled. Why commit such resources to defend our outpost? The treaty between our peoples is barely established. Most of your citizens probably don't even know Kalatrians exist. Reeves considered my question for a moment. "Ammoniega. What low class?" "2 reasons, Commander. First, Earth honors its alliances, even new ones. When you signed that treaty, you became under our protection whether you realized the full implications or not. And the second reason?" Trilak pressed. A cold smile crossed Reeves' face. "The Draxoids made a critical error in their calculations. They assumed because we're newcomers to interstellar travel that we're also newcomers to warfare." He shook his head slowly. Nothing could be further from the truth. Before he could elaborate, his communication device beeped. "Excuse me," he said, stepping away to take the call. Trilak turned to me, lowering his voice. "There's something they're not telling us about these humans. No species develops this level of military precision without extensive combat experience. Perhaps their homeworld was particularly challenging," I suggested, recalling fragments of information about Earth's history that our diplomats had shared. Multiple nations, thousands of languages, centuries of conflict among themselves before achieving unification. Reeves returned, his expression now grimmer than before. "Change of plans. We've just received intelligence that the Draxoid Supreme Commander himself is with the forces in the Northern Hills. Apparently, he was conducting a field inspection when the attack began. Lucky break for us. Supreme Commander Vraxxis? I couldn't hide my shock. He's personally here? Supreme Commander Vraxxis was almost mythological in status, the architect of the Draxoid expansion that had consumed 17 systems in the past decade. A military genius whose strategies had defeated species far more advanced than humans. You know of him? Reeves asked. Everyone in this quadrant knows of Vraxxis. Trelak replied. He's never lost a campaign. Never, Reeves grunted. Well, there's a first time for everything. Captain Frost has ordered a special operation to capture or eliminate him. I've been tasked with leading it. He glanced at me appraisingly. We could use someone with knowledge of Draxoid command structures, someone who could identify Vraxxis with certainty. I felt my 3 hearts accelerate their beating. You want me to join your assault team? Only if you volunteer, Reeves clarified. This is beyond your obligations as our ally. For a moment, I pictured the faces of the Kalatrians who had died when the Draxoids first attacked, scientists, engineers, civilians who had never raised a weapon in their lives. My decision was simple. I volunteer, I stated firmly. When do we leave? 20 minutes. Gear up and meet me at landing zone 3. As Reeves departed, Trelak stared at me with all 4 of his eyes wide. Commander, with all due respect, this is madness. You're not a special operations soldier. These humans are. They're something else entirely. I began checking my sidearm, which is precisely why I need to see how they operate up close. Whatever happens today will reshape our understanding of humanity's place in galactic politics. If you survive to report it, Trelak muttered. Exactly 18 minutes later, I found myself aboard a human dropship with 11 heavily armed soldiers. Their armor was different from the troops I'd seen earlier, sleeker, with fewer markings and specialized attachments that suggested stealth capabilities. Commander Zivix, welcome aboard, Reeves greeted me. Let me introduce you to Nova Team. These are UAA Ghost operatives, our most elite special forces. The humans nodded in acknowledgement but remained focused on checking their equipment. The casual competence with which they handled their advanced weaponry spoke volumes about their training. Our mission is straightforward, Reeves continued, activating a holographic display showing the Northern Hills. Intelligence indicates Vraxxis is holed up in this cave network with approximately 200 elite guards. Our primary objective is to capture him alive if possible. Secondary objective is elimination. What about the rest of the Draxoid forces? I asked. The main human assault force will engage them as a diversion, Reeves explained. While they're occupied, we'll infiltrate through this ravine, bypassing their front lines. A female ghost operative with the name Alvarez stenciled on her armor spoke up. Captain, latest satellite imagery shows they've positioned sonic detection grids along that ravine. Can we jam them? Reeves asked. Not without alerting them to our presence, replied another operative, but we could use their own security against them. Reeves raised an eyebrow. Explain. Draxoid sonic detectors are calibrated for specific movement patterns. They're particularly sensitive to the bipedal gait of humans, but, the operative glanced at me. They wouldn't be tuned for Kalatrian physiology. All eyes turned to me. You want me to trigger their sensors deliberately? I asked. Finally understanding the plan, Reeves nodded. If you're willing. You'd create a distraction at this junction, drawing their security forces away from our actual insertion point. It's dangerous, but you'd have 2 of my best operators with you. I considered the risk. As a Kalatrian commander, I had combat training, but nothing compared to these specialized human warriors. Still, the opportunity to participate meaningfully in Vraxxis' capture was too important to refuse. I'll do it, I agreed. Just tell me exactly what I need to do. The dropship shuddered as it accelerated toward the hills, flying low to avoid detection. Through the viewport, I could see the main human force advancing across the plain, a formidable array of armored vehicles, mechs, and infantry moving in perfect coordination. In the sky above, human fighters provided air support, their weapons already engaging Draxoid anti-aircraft emplacements. 2 minutes to drop point, the pilot announced. Reeves addressed his team one final time. Remember, we want Vraxxis alive if possible. Intel suggests he has critical information about the Draxoid Central Command structure. That said, if capturing him jeopardizes the mission, take the shot. Any questions? There were none. These humans operated with a quiet confidence I found both admirable and terrifying. Commander Zivix will be with Strike Team Bravo, Reeves continued. Alvarez, Phillips, you're with him. Keep our ally at all costs. The two designated operatives nodded to me. Despite their faceless helmets, I sensed a reassuring professionalism. 30 seconds. The pilot called. Everyone performed final checks on their equipment. Operative Alvarez handed me a small device. Emergency beacon, she explained. If we get separated, activate it. We'll find you. The dropship touched down with barely a jolt. The rear hatch hissed open, revealing the rocky terrain of the foothills. Move out, Reeves ordered, and just like that, we were deployed into enemy territory. What followed was the most intense 4 hours of my life. Strike Team Bravo, myself and the two human operatives, successfully drew Draxoid security forces away from the main infiltration point. While Reeves and the rest of Nova Team penetrated deep into the cave network, we engaged in a deadly game of cat and mouse through the rocky terrain. The humans' combat capabilities continued to astonish me. Operative Phillips moved like a ghost, eliminating Draxoid sentries with silent precision. Alvarez demonstrated an uncanny ability to predict enemy movements, guiding us safely through patrols that should have detected us. As for me, I discovered reserves of courage I never knew I possessed. When a Draxoid patrol cornered us near a cliff edge, I found myself fighting alongside these humans as if we'd trained together for years. Not bad for a scientist, Alvarez commented after I took down a Draxoid soldier with a well-placed shot. You sure you haven't done this before? Administrative duties usually occupy most of my time, I replied, surprised at my own capacity for gallows humor in such a situation. Well, you've got good instincts, Phillips added. Stick with us, you might live long enough to write a report about all this. Our mission took an unexpected turn when Reeves' voice crackled over the comm. All teams, be advised. Target is on the move. Repeat. Vraxxis is attempting to evacuate via emergency shuttle hidden in the northern ravine, moving to intercept. Bravo team, cut off his escape route from your position. Alvarez immediately pulled up a topographical map on her wrist display. We're closest. If we cut through this ridge, we can reach the ravine before them. Then let's move, Phillips said, already adjusting his course. We raced across the rugged landscape, pushing our bodies to the limit. Despite my three-legged gait being faster than the humans' bipedal movement, I found myself impressed by their endurance and determination. We reached the ravine just as a sleek Draxoid shuttle powered up its engines. Through my quadnocular vision, I could make out a group of heavily armed Draxoid elites forming a protective ring around a larger figure. That's him, I confirmed, recognizing the distinctive ceremonial armor of the Supreme Commander. Vraxxis. Team Alpha, we have visual confirmation of target, Alvarez reported. Preparing to engage. Negative, came Reeves' response. We're pinned down by heavy resistance. You're on your own. Stop that shuttle at all costs. Phillips surveyed the situation with professional calm. 20+ elite guards. Open terrain. And they outnumber us at least 6-1. He checked his weapon. Should be interesting. We need a plan, I insisted, not sharing their apparent comfort with suicidal odds. Alvarez pointed to an outcropping above the shuttle. Those rocks look unstable. A few well-placed explosives could block the ravine, preventing takeoff, but someone would need to get close enough to place them, I noted. I'll do it, Phillips volunteered. Alvarez is the better shot. She can provide cover fire from here. And me? I asked. Alvarez handed me what looked like a small metal sphere. When I give the signal, throw this as close to the shuttle as possible, then cover your eyes. Before I could ask what it was, Phillips was already moving, using the terrain for cover as he worked his way toward the outcropping. Alvarez set up her sniper position with practiced efficiency. "Remember when I said humans were newcomers to interstellar travel but not to warfare?" she asked as she calibrated her scope. "What I meant was that Earth spent most of its history with humans fighting other humans, thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other, before we ever met another species." She said this so matter-of-factly that it took me a moment to process the implications. Thousands of years of constant warfare, the sheer experience that represented. "We unified eventually," she continued, her eye never leaving her scope. "But those combat instincts, that accumulated knowledge of warfare, we brought it all with us to the stars." "Ready," Philip's voice came over the comm. "Commander," Alvarez said to me. "On my mark, throw that disruptor exactly where I showed you." 3, 2, 1, mark. I hurled the device with all my strength. It landed just meters from the shuttle's boarding ramp. Immediately, it detonated in a flash of blinding light and a pulse of energy that made my skin tingle. "EMP disruptor," Alvarez explained as she began firing with incredible precision. One by one, Draxoid guards dropped as her shots found gaps in their armor, temporarily disabled their communications and shields. Chaos erupted below as the Draxoids realized they were under attack. Some returned fire in our direction, while others tried to rush Vraxxis onto the shuttle. "Now, Phillips," Alvarez commanded. On the ridge above the shuttle, Phillips detonated his explosives. The entire hillside seemed to shudder before massive boulders broke free, cascading down to block the ravine directly in front of the shuttle's path. The Draxoid Supreme Commander was now trapped. What happened next occurred so quickly I could barely follow it. Phillips dropped from his position, activating some kind of advanced camouflage that rendered him nearly invisible. Alvarez continued providing precision fire, methodically eliminating key threats. And then, remarkably, I found myself charging into the fray alongside these human warriors, my own weapon blazing. Perhaps it was madness, or perhaps some dormant Kalatrian battle instinct awakened by the humans' fearlessness. The battle was brief but intense. When it ended, I stood in the shadow of the disabled shuttle, breathing heavily as Phillips secured a wounded but very much alive Supreme Commander Vraxxis. "The mighty Draxoid Empire," Alvarez said, addressing our captive with undisguised contempt. "Not looking so mighty now, are you?" Vraxxis, his imposing form now restrained with specialized human containment technology, glared at her with all 6 of his yellow eyes. "You primitive apes have no idea what you've done. The full might of our empire will descend upon your homeworld for this insult." To my surprise, both humans laughed. "I don't think you understand your situation," Phillips replied. "While we've been keeping you busy here, the Thunderchild and our other vessels have been transmitting everything that happened to every species in this sector. Everyone now knows that the legendary Draxoid Armada was defeated by a handful of human ships." That Vraxxis's demeanor changed subtly, fear replacing arrogance. "Oh, and one more thing," Alvarez added, her voice deceptively casual. "Our fleet admiral sends a message. Earth is now officially extending its protection to all systems bordering Draxoid territory. Any further expansionist activities will be met with the full military response of the United Earth Alliance." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These newcomers to galactic politics were essentially challenging one of the most powerful empires in the quadrant. "Your species will regret this," Vraxxis hissed. "You don't have the numbers or resources to enforce such a claim." Reeves arrived with the rest of Nova Team, looking battle-worn but satisfied. "We don't need overwhelming numbers," he said, joining the conversation. "We just need everyone to know what happened today, how a Draxoid Armada and their supposedly invincible Supreme Commander were decisively defeated by a species you dismissed as hairless primates who've barely learned to break their own atmosphere." He gestured to me. "With allies like the Kalatrians and others who will surely join us after today, we have all the resources we need." As human dropships descended to extract us and our high-value prisoner, I found myself re-evaluating everything I thought I knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. 3 days later, I stood in the newly rebuilt communication center of our outpost, finalizing my official report to the Kalatrian High Command. Trelak reviewed the document with growing disbelief. "You realize this will change everything," he said. "The power dynamics of the entire sector will shift once this becomes widely known." "That's precisely the point," I replied. "The humans didn't just save our colony. They sent a message to every potential aggressor in the galaxy." Through the window, I could see human engineers working alongside our people to strengthen our defenses. The UEA Thunderchild remained in orbit, a visible reminder of Earth's commitment to our protection. Captain Reeves entered, now wearing a dress uniform rather than battle armor. "Commander Zivix, I came to inform you that we've received new orders from Earth. A permanent human military presence will be established here, if that meets with your approval." "Most welcome," I assured him. "Your soldiers have earned the gratitude and respect of every Kalatrian." Reeves nodded appreciatively. "There's something else. Supreme Commander Vraxxis has been cooperative during interrogation. The intelligence he's provided suggests the Draxoids were just the first wave. There are other threats lurking in the darkness between stars. And Earth intends to stand against them?" I asked. A small smile played across Reeves' face. "Let's just say humanity has spent thousands of years practicing for this moment without even realizing it. Now that we've found allies worth protecting, we intend to put all that practice to good use." As he departed, Trelak turned to me with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Do you think the rest of the galaxy is ready for humanity?" I watched as a group of human soldiers effortlessly integrated with our security teams, sharing techniques and technology with genuine camaraderie. "Ready or not," I replied, "humanity has arrived, and I, for one, am very glad they're on our side." Outside, beyond the restored perimeter of our once vulnerable outpost, the flags of both Kalatra and Earth fluttered side by side in the alien breeze, a new alliance forged in battle and sealed with shared victory. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, word was spreading of how a newcomer species had decisively defeated the dreaded Draxoid Armada. And with that story traveled a clear message to any who might threaten peace in this corner of the galaxy. Beware the humans. They might look harmless at first glance, but underestimate them at your peril, because when their allies are surrounded and defeated, Earth's soldiers will arrive from the sky. And nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. Malek sighed. "You know, as dead gum,